My son wrote to me, "You won't join us. My wife prefers it to be just family. My name is Eleanor Hartley. I'm 68 years old, and I raised my son Marcus to be a good man. Strong, principled, capable. I worked 2 jobs after his father died when Marcus was 12, put him through college, helped with his first apartment deposit, and stood proudly at his wedding when he married Vanessa 5 years ago. Last Tuesday, I received an email from him that changed everything. Mom, about Thanksgiving. Vanessa thinks it's best if this year is just our immediate family. You understand, right? We need to establish our own traditions." I read it 3 times. Just our immediate family. I'm his mother. I wiped his fevered forehead through childhood illnesses, taught him to drive, helped him write college applications. But apparently, I'm not immediate family anymore. What Marcus didn't know was that 6 months ago, I'd loaned them $85,000 for the down payment on their dream house. The one Vanessa posted about constantly on social media, calling it our forever home. The loan agreement sat in my desk drawer, signed by both of them, promising repayment within 5 years at 0 interest. Marcus had hugged me that day, his eyes wet with gratitude. Mom, I don't know how to thank you. This changes everything for us. I looked at that email again and realized he was right. Everything had changed. I walked to my study and pulled out the leather folder I'd been ignoring for months. Inside was the promissory note, notarized and legal. $85,000, due in full by December 2028. But there was a clause we'd included at the lawyer's insistence, one I'd barely glanced at when signing. In the event of material breach of relationship or willful exclusion from family events, the lender reserves the right to demand immediate repayment in full. The lawyer had called it a protection clause. Just in case things go sideways, he'd said. I'd laughed at the time. My son would never. I sat there with that document in my hands, remembering other small cuts. Last Christmas, Vanessa had scheduled their family photos for a time she knew I couldn't make due to my volunteer shift at the hospital. "Oh, we thought you'd be done by then," she'd said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. My birthday dinner 3 months ago, Vanessa had invited her parents but told Marcus it would be too crowded to include me. I'd spent the evening alone with takeout and a rented movie. And now, Thanksgiving. The holiday I'd hosted for Marcus every year of his life until Vanessa decided I wasn't immediate family. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer, Gerald Moss. We'd worked together when I'd set up my estate planning, and he'd been the one to draft the loan agreement. "Eleanor," he said warmly, "what can I do for you?" That loan I made to Marcus. The promissory note with the protection clause. Can I actually enforce it? There was a pause. You mean demand immediate repayment? Yes, if you can demonstrate material exclusion. Do you have documentation? I have an email, I said, from my son, telling me I'm not welcome at Thanksgiving because his wife prefers just family. Gerald's voice shifted, becoming more formal. Forward it to me. If you want to proceed, I'll draft a formal demand letter. They'll have 30 days to pay in full or face legal action. My hands shook as I hit forward on Marcus's email. Not from anger, but from the weight of choice. This would detonate their finances. It would probably detonate our relationship. But they'd already done that, hadn't they? The demand letter arrived at Marcus's house by certified mail on a Thursday afternoon. I know because the tracking notification pinged my phone at 3:47 p.m. I sat in my kitchen, tea going cold in front of me, imagining the moment he opened it. By 6:15 p.m., my phone was ringing. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. I let go to voicemail. He called 4 more times that evening. Each voicemail grew more desperate. "Mom, what is this? Why would you do this? We can't pay $85,000 in 30 days. You know that. Please call me back. We need to talk about this. Mom, I'm sorry about Thanksgiving." Vanessa didn't mean it the way it sounded. I listened to each message once, then deleted them. The time for talking had passed. The next morning, Vanessa called. I answered on the 3rd ring. "Eleanor, this is ridiculous. You're destroying your relationship with Marcus over one holiday. This isn't about one holiday, Vanessa. This is about a pattern. Christmas photos without me. My birthday dinner without me. And now, Thanksgiving. At what point do I stop pretending I'm part of this family? You're being overly sensitive. We're just trying to establish boundaries as a couple. And I'm establishing mine. The loan is due. You have 28 days. She hung up. Within an hour, Marcus was at my door. I watched through the window as he knocked, then pounded, then finally sat on my porch steps with his head in his hands. I didn't open the door. That evening, I received an email from both of them. A joint message, carefully worded, probably drafted by Vanessa. We apologize if our communication was hurtful. We'd love to have you at Thanksgiving. Please reconsider the loan demand. I wrote back a single line. I'll be at my friend Margaret's for Thanksgiving. The loan terms stand. 23 days after the demand letter, I received a call from Gerald. They filed a motion to invalidate the protection clause, claiming it's unconscionable and that you're using it maliciously. Can they do that? They can try. But the clause was negotiated with both parties legally represented. You were doing them a favor with a zero-interest loan. The judge isn't likely to be sympathetic. The hearing was set for 2 weeks later. I walked into that courtroom in my Navy suit, the one I'd worn to Marcus's college graduation. He sat across the aisle with Vanessa, both of them looking exhausted. The judge reviewed the documents in silence. Finally, she looked up. Mrs. Hartley, you loaned your son and daughter-in-law $85,000 for a house down payment at zero interest? Yes, Your Honor. And they're arguing that demanding repayment after being excluded from family events is unconscionable. Yes, Your Honor. She turned to Marcus and Vanessa. You excluded your mother-in-law from Thanksgiving after she loaned you nearly $100,000. Vanessa started to speak, but the judge held up her hand. The loan agreement is valid. The protection clause is unusual but not unconscionable. Mrs. Hartley had every right to include safeguards when making such a substantial personal loan. Motion denied. The loan is due in full within the original 30-day window. Marcus's face crumpled. Vanessa looked like she'd been slapped. As we filed out of the courtroom, Marcus caught my arm. Mom, please. We'll lose the house. We can't get that kind of money in 2 weeks. I looked at my son, this man I'd raised, who'd chosen his wife's cruelty over his mother's love. You made a choice, Marcus. Now you live with it. They sold the house. It went on the market within days of the judgment, listed as a motivated seller. They got less than they'd paid, lost the down payment, and moved into a rental apartment across town. Vanessa's social media went dark. No more posts about our forever home or perfect family photos. Marcus's calls stopped after I didn't return the first dozen. My friends told me I was too harsh. That family is family that I should forgive. But none of them had been erased from their own child's life by a daughter-in-law who saw them as competition rather than family. 6 months later, I ran into Marcus at the grocery store. We both froze in the produce section, him holding a bag of apples, me with my cart half full. Mom, he said quietly. Marcus, I've been wanting to call. To explain. There's nothing to explain. You chose Vanessa's preferences over your mother's presence. The consequences were spelled out in the loan agreement. I know. He stopped struggling. I didn't realize how much Vanessa was controlling until we lost everything. She blamed you, but I'm starting to see it differently. Good for you. Could we maybe have coffee sometime? Just talk. I looked at my son, older somehow, humbled. When you're ready to have that conversation without Vanessa dictating the terms, call me. Until then, take care of yourself, Marcus. I pushed my cart past him and didn't look back. 3 months after that, on a Sunday morning, my doorbell rang. Marcus stood there alone. No Vanessa, no rehearsed speech visible in his expression. Can I come in? I stepped aside. We sat in my living room, the same room where he'd done homework at my coffee table, where we'd watched movies on difficult nights after his father died. The silence stretched between us, but it wasn't hostile. It was the quiet of things being rebuilt from broken pieces. I left her, he said finally. Vanessa. 2 weeks ago. I didn't respond, just waited. It wasn't just you, Mom. It was everything. The way she controlled who I saw, what I did, how I spent my time. I didn't see it when we were in that big house, playing the life she designed. But when we lost it, when everything got stripped down, I saw who she really was. And who was that? Someone who saw people as useful or obstacles. You were an obstacle. So was anyone who didn't fit her vision of our perfect life. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I know I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I see it now. What I did. What I let happen? I took a breath, feeling something old and hard begin to loosen in my chest. You hurt me, Marcus. Deeply. Not just with Thanksgiving, but with every time you let her erase me. I know, but you're here now, and you came alone. That matters. We didn't fix everything that day. Healing doesn't work like that. But we started. Small steps. Coffee every other Sunday. A phone call on my birthday. Marcus slowly rebuilding the relationship he'd let deteriorate. He got his own apartment, started therapy, began figuring out who he was without Vanessa's voice in his head. And slowly, carefully, we became mother and son again. Not the way we were before. That was gone. But something different, something built on honesty instead of obligation. A year after that grocery store encounter, Marcus hosted Thanksgiving. Just the two of us in his small apartment with a store-bought turkey and lumpy mashed potatoes. This is terrible, he laughed, gesturing at our humble meal. It's perfect, I said, and I meant it, because we were just family, real family, the kind that earns the title. Thank you for watching this powerful story. If it moved you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to set boundaries with your own children? How did it turn out? Let's talk about it. Until next time, remember, family is a title that must be earned, not assumed. This is Mama Zee.